but nothing works. I am very disappointed. I leave your room and I return to my room. I then attend the AFCH course and figure out how to crack somebody else's Windows login password. So that is the scenario that I'm talking about. If you want to crack somebody else's Windows login password, what are the steps that you need to execute? Step number 1. You need to download a software called Opcrack. Opcrack is around, I think, 500 or 600 MB. And when you download Opcrack, the extension of the file is .iso. Now, .iso files are actually quite special, because any file that is .iso file extension, it basically means that you can copy it onto a CD or a pen drive, and that CD or that pen drive will become bootable. So step number 1 is you download Opcrack. It's a 600 MB download, .iso file extension, and you copy it to a CD and make a bootable CD out of it. And if you have never created a bootable CD, there's actually a couple of tools available. There's a software called Nero that allows you to create a bootable CD using a .iso file. So just download Opcrack, which is a .iso file, 600 MB in size. Using the Nero software, you copy it onto a bootable CD. Sorry, copy it onto a CD, and the CD will become bootable. So step number 1 is create bootable CD of Opcrack. Step number 2 is that you need to break into the victim's room, switch on computer, and enter BIOS. What is a BIOS? If you have forgotten what the BIOS is, basically as soon as the computer boots, even before Windows starts, there will be a message on the screen which will ask you press F1, F10 or something to enter the BIOS. So you press that so that you can enter the BIOS, and inside the BIOS you got to look for something known as boot sequence. Boot sequence. The boot sequence basically decides which drive your computer is going to boot from. By default, your computer boots from C drive, which is where Windows is installed. But you don't want your computer to boot from C drive. Actually, you want it to boot from some other drive, which in this case is D drive. So you need to enter the boot sequence and change the boot sequence so that instead of C drive coming before D drive, you do the reverse of it. So D drive should come before C drive. So essentially what you're trying to do is that, see, normally normally your computer boots from C drive, that is Windows. But the problem is the moment Windows will boot, the SAM file gets locked, and you as a regular user cannot access the SAM file, and you cannot steal data from it. So instead what you're trying to do is, in step 1 you created a bootable CD of Opcrack. Step 2, you're changing the BIOS settings of the victim's computer so that the boot sequence of that BIOS says that the computer should first try booting from D drive, which is Opcrack, and then if that fails, then it should try booting from C drive. Right? So you've changed the boot sequence so that Windows will not start, and instead the Opcrack operating system or the Opcrack software is what will start instead of Windows. Now step number 3 is you save the BIOS changes that you have made and restart computer. Insert the CD into the CD tray. So that's pretty straightforward. Just save whatever changes you made in the BIOS, restart the computer, make sure that the CD is already inside the CD tray. Now what will happen is, Windows will not boot, and instead opcrack will boot, and just follow whatever instructions are there on the screen. Keep pressing next, next, or yes, yes, or whatever, and 35 or 40 minutes later, with a 60 to 70% success rate, it will be able to crack all Windows login passwords. As simple as that. So I'll quickly recap this. This is an offline attack, which means Windows should not run. And why are we doing an offline attack? Because you are not an administrator, you are a criminal, and you are trying to actually steal or gain access to your friend's computer. So step number 1 is that you prepare the alternate booting mechanism, and the alternate booting mechanism is opcrack. So opcrack is a .iso file software. It's basically a password cracking tool that will crack the SAM file password. And it's a 600 MB download, so you download it and you copy it onto a CD or a pen drive. Using Nero software, you create a bootable CD so that you can boot from it. Step number 2 is that you switch on the victim's computer, enter the BIOS. Do not let Windows boot. Enter the BIOS, and inside the BIOS look for the boot sequence setting. And normally the boot sequence will be try booting from C drive first and then move on to D drive. So you got to reverse that, because you don't want Windows to boot. So it should first be D drive, and if that doesn't work, then go to C drive. Step number 3 is you save the BIOS, you restart the computer, you insert the CD into the CD tray, because what you're trying to do is that make sure that Windows does not boot and instead opcrack boots. Step number 4, Windows actually does not boot. Opcrack will boot. There'll be instructions on the screen. Keep pressing yes, no, yes, or next, or whatever, and then you go ahead and basically keep following the instructions. Wait for 35-40 minutes, and with a 60-70% success rate, opcrack will crack the Windows login password for you and will display the password as the output. As simple as that. The problem with this technique is the fact that it takes 35-40 minutes, and you have to be in front of the victim's computer for the entire duration. So what if your friend comes back and catches you red-handed in the act? That would be a very, very embarrassing and difficult situation, an uncomfortable situation to be in. So instead, I would say that don't use opcrack. And instead, let me tell you about another very interesting software that is even better than opcrack. So I just wasted so much time because I could have just skipped opcrack and directly I could have told you about the better software. So the better software is actually a software called PC Login Now. PC Login Now. And instead of 600 MB, I think it's only around 6 or 7 MB. So it won't take a very long time for you to download on the slow internet speeds in India. So download PC Login Now. It's around 6 or 7 MB in size. The extension of the file is .iso. You create a bootable CD of that PC Login Now software using Nero. You break into the victim's computer, switch on the computer, enter the BIOS, change the boot sequence so that D drive comes before C drive. Step 3 is also the same, save BIOS, restart PC, insert CD. Step number 4 is kind of the same, except that, again, Windows will not boot. Opcrack, instead of opcrack, it will obviously be PC Login Now. So PC Login Now boots, and it takes around 5 or 6 minutes instead of 35-40 minutes. And again, with a 60-70% success rate, it will crack the Windows login password. Actually, it does not crack the Windows login password. It corrupts the Windows login password, or it corrupts the SAM file. So opcrack will actually crack the Windows login password and display the password on the screen. But it takes 35-40 minutes to do that, which means that you could actually get caught. The alternate is PC login now. It takes 5 or 6 minutes only. It does not crack the password and display it on the screen, so it does not tell you what the password is. Instead, it corrupts the password file, it corrupts the SAM file completely. Which essentially means that you could just restart the computer, and when Windows asks for the password, you can type any password of your choice and it will get accepted. Because the SAM file has been corrupted, the password has been deleted or overwritten or whatever you want to call it, and it gives you access to the victim's computer. But the problem with this technique is, when your friend comes back, his original password will no longer work. So he will know that there is something wrong that has happened on his machine. So there are two main types of offline attacks. One is attack that tries to crack the password for you and display the password to you, but it takes 35-40 minutes, plus there is no 100% guarantee. PC login now takes only 5 or 6 minutes. It does not crack the password, it does not tell you the password, but it gives you access to the victim's computer by corrupting the SAM file. Advantage is 5-6 minutes only and your job is done. So depending on what your objectives are, if your objective is to find out your friend's password, then opcrack is better. If your objective is to steal data from your friend's computer, then this one is much better. So that's how you can use an offline attack to basically steal or gain access to the victim's computer. The offline attacks work because since Windows is not starting, you're booting into another operating system. As a result, your SAM file is still accessible and you're able to steal data from it, you're able to corrupt it, and so on. So this is what opcrack, the website, looks like. If you look at the screen carefully, it basically uses rainbow tables to kind of run the whole attack. So it's possible for you to download rainbow tables of opcrack from the opcrack website. If you notice, my Windows has stopped responding, so I'll have to wait for a few seconds for Windows to kind of stabilize again, after which I will continue with the lecture today. So I'm trying to kind of just fix it. As you know, this happens in Windows from time to time. You can't really do much about it. It's still trying to kind of fix itself. If it takes much longer, I may just restart the computer. Oh, there you go. I think it's stabilized again. So let me switch to my PowerPoint slides again. So this is what the opcrack website looks like. If you look at the screen, it essentially uses rainbow tables. So you can download rainbow tables from their website, which will increase the speed of the attack if you want to. There's another very interesting software called Offline Anti-Password and Registry Editor. I repeat, Offline Anti-Password and Registry Editor, or in short, it is often known as anti-password. Anti-password. So you can use this to reset the password of a valid account. So it kind of works like PC login now, where it corrupts the SAM file. It does not crack and display the password for you. And even better software is PC login now. It resets or deletes the password of a valid account. And on their website, they apparently guarantee that it will work. The best software is Conboot. They actually do guarantee, and they actually mean it when they say that. It runs as a bootable CD. It modifies Windows kernel during boot, hence allowing you to log in without a password. It does not change anything in the SAM file. Hence, when you restart, everything is normal. So that's what conboot does. It's a commercial software. Companies use this software to recover access to systems where the password has been changed by an employee or changed by a criminal, and they no longer have access to that particular computer. So conboot is highly recommended. It will definitely do a good job if you want to crack somebody else's Windows login password. Another similar software which I like to recommend to all of you is Trinity Rescue Kit. It's actually a free Linux distribution, bootable from a CD or a pen drive, and it allows you to reset / crack the SAM file password or whatever. Within this operating system, you basically use the WinPass tool that comes along with the Trinity Rescue Kit. There's another software. So like I had mentioned earlier, cracking of Windows login password, there are around 10 or 12 different software that you can use. So I'm just sharing with you the most popular ones. You have NTPW-edit, which the SAM file is locked as soon as Windows boots. You can boot from bootable CD or pen drive of Windows PE and run NTPW-edit tool to edit the Windows login password. You can also attach victim hard drive to another computer and run NTPW-edit on that computer. So that's something that a lot of hackers don't think about. You can actually physically just detach the hard drive of the victim's computer, connect it to another computer where you can run the software NTPW-edit, which will then try to crack the password for you. So in this description, there is something called Windows PE. So what exactly is Windows PE and how can it actually help you crack the Windows login password? Windows PE stands for Windows Pre-Installation Environment Version. It is basically a minimal, limited version of Windows that can be booted from a CD, pen drive, or external hard drive. Originally, the Windows PE version was designed to allow manufacturers to boot a computer in the factory without any operating system installed on it, so that they can actually pre-install Windows on system during the manufacturing stage itself. So say for example, when this laptop was being assembled in say the Dell factory, obviously when it's a brand new hard drive, brand new everything, they're just putting all the hardware together. Then how do they actually install Windows on it? Because when you buy it, Windows is already installed on it, right? So to install Windows on it during the manufacturing stage, there is Windows PE that has been created. It's a kind of a pre-installation minimal version of Windows that is used for manufacturers. However, it is nowadays also used for troubleshooting Windows problems or any issues that happen in Windows in an offline mode. And hackers have started using Windows PE in an offline mode to access the SAM file and attack the SAM file and to corrupt the SAM file and bypass the Windows login password. Windows PE is part of the Windows Automated Installation Kit, or the Windows AIK for Windows 7, which can be downloaded for free of cost from this particular website, the Microsoft website. So if you just Google Windows AIK download, you can actually download it easily. Similarly, you have Windows RE. Windows RE. The full form is Windows Recovery Environment. It is basically it is a version of Windows that is based on Windows PE, and it is often used as a recovery tool that allows you to diagnose and repair your computer in case of an occasion or a situation where Windows fails to boot. It is possible to create a bootable Windows RE disk, or in some cases you can also access it by pressing the F8 button on your computer while your computer is booting. Microsoft has provided detailed instructions on how to create a bootable CD or disk of Windows RE and Windows PE on their website. So essentially you can actually create a version of Windows PE in RE disk for free of cost, and then you can use that to then attack the Windows SAM file using tools like NTPW-edit. So combine NTPW-edit with Windows PE and Windows RE, and you'll be able to crack the Windows login password or bypass it or by corrupting the SAM file. Another software that allows you to actually crack the Windows login password or do something with it is the Proactive Password Auditor. It's available from this website that we have discussed in the previous class, lcomsoft.com. It requires admin rights. It dumps the hashes from the memory or registry and tests the strength. Test the strength means it basically cracks the password using brute force, dictionary attacks, and rainbow table attacks. It can also crack the password dump files generated by other tools. So if you use, say, fgdump or pwdump, and if you want to crack the dumped password hashes, you can use the Proactive Password Auditor. Or if you connect the victim hard drive to your computer as a secondary drive, even then it will work. Yet another software is Proactive System Recovery. Just the way you had the previous software from lcomsoft, this Proactive System Recovery is also from lcomsoft. It allows you to crack the passwords of accounts, which is Windows login accounts, through online techniques. Another software is the Active Password Changer software. Active Password Changer. Then you have Stellar Phoenix Password Recovery. Stellar Phoenix Password Recovery. And then you have another software called Lopcrack. Lopcrack. And then you have yet another software called Hash Suite. Hash Suite, basically, if you feed any dumped SAM hashes, it can actually allow you to crack the password or convert the hashes into the plain text password. And then you have Rainbow Crack software, which basically executes rainbow table attacks on any Windows login password hash dumps that you feed to it. So as you can clearly see, there are a bunch of various Windows login password cracking tools available. At least one of them will definitely give you the password of the victim's computer. Now, up until now, we have seen a wide variety of different ways in which Windows login passwords can be cracked. So for many years, there was no solution to this problem. So Microsoft kept struggling in terms of coming up with a proper solution to ensure the security of Windows login passwords. And eventually, it launched something known as SysKey. The idea behind SysKey was that it will improve the security of the SAM file and the Windows login passwords. So what is SysKey? SysKey is a tool that was introduced by Microsoft to improve the security of Windows. Once enabled, it would encrypt the SAM file using 128-bit encryption. So what SysKey did was actually two things. One was it would encrypt the SAM file. And number two, what it would do is that along with your Windows login password, you also needed to enter the SysKey password. Only then you would be able to gain access to the victim's computer. So that was basically an additional layer of security. So how do you enable SysKey? Basically, you just go to the run prompt in the start menu, type SysKey, and it will run on your computer, and enable encryption. So start SysKey through the run prompt, select encryption enabled and click on the update button. And then it will ask you to choose a password. So there are a few different options available for the password. Option 1 is that you can require the user to enter a startup SysKey password, which is at least 12 characters long, right? So you can choose any password that the user wants. Second option is that the system will generate a password which can be stored in a pen drive, and the user must connect the pen drive to that system. Only then can the user log into their computer. And the option 3 is that the system will generate a password and store it locally on the system, and user doesn't need to do anything. So there are 3 options in terms of using SysKey. So let me recap. We already have seen how easy it is to crack Windows login passwords. So then Microsoft finally got sick of all the security issues on Windows.